Hi, I'm Natalie and I just turned 36. But you could say that I've been a marine biologist since about the age of 2, because that's when I first went fishing with my dad and became completely fascinated in fish. Whenever we caught one, I just had to hold it and I'd stroke it and I'd look it in its eye and just thought it was a magical creature. So after years of snorkeling and having aquariums and watching Bencroft documentaries, I went to university at Flinders in Adelaide to learn to become a marine biologist. So I studied marine biology and maths, and when I was in third year I went over to the University of Miami in Florida on an exchange, and it was there that I realised I could combine the maths with my love of marine biology by becoming a fisheries modeller, whereby we input to a model all of our information about the biology of a fishery or of a fish stock, and we use the maths to put together a model that's like a flight simulator, and we can drive that forward in time under different management conditions or environmental conditions and see how the fishery might behave. So it's pretty powerful and fun stuff. And with that knowledge I came back to Australia and I went on to do a PhD, also through Flinders and with Saudi Aquatic Sciences, on abalone population dynamics, which involved not only modelling but also participating in dive surveys on Eyre Peninsula. I went straight from my PhD then into a position at CSIRO, where I've spent the last 11 years working on fisheries models of various fish stocks, including tuna and billfish, but also of fisher behaviour and of various data poor fisheries around the country. I not only love the technical side of what I do, but I'm very passionate about communication of my work so that it's relevant to industry and to managers. I feel that our science is redundant unless it's uptaken to help with the management of the stocks that we're working on. So I've been fortunate enough to be able to be helping to implement policy for various Australian fisheries over the last few years, which involved a lot of communication work. I'm well qualified for that, you could say, because I was heavily involved in debating in high school. I won 2 state championships in Year 11 and in Year 12, and I also went on to coach a state squad in 1994 who won a state championship. I obviously do have a scuba diving licence that I obtained when I was 17, and I later upgraded that to an advanced qualification. I've had about 70 dives logged. Most of them have been research dives, but also recreational diving. I'm used to diving with equipment and in rough conditions, and I've got experience with diving on hooker as well as with tank. I have also got a lot of boating experience, both with sailing and on motorised vessels, little dinghies right up to large research vessels. And I have been on liveaboards for about 2 weeks and I've not been seasick, which is a plus. My career has given me some amazing experiences over the years. With all my abalone survey work, I've been chipping away at abalone and looked up to see a pod of dolphins swimming around me. And I've also been unlucky enough to be abalone surveying in very rough conditions and be doing backward somersaults where I've gotten tangled in my gear and have had to cut myself loose from entanglement with rocks and rope. Not so fun. However, I've also done a lot of reef diving on the Great Barrier Reef and also in Florida. I've dived everywhere from Cairns to the Whitsundays to Heron Island and done fish surveys off of the Dry Tortugas Marine Park in the US. As well as all of my science career, I've been lucky enough to have a bit of a side career in television. I had a bit of a serendipitous entry into television at age 30 after a friend urged me to send some photos to her agent. And since then I've had fairly steady work in TV commercials and still photo shoots and some modelling. To date I've done 12 television commercials, I've done 2 feature films and as sort of extra and featured extra work. Most of my TV commercial work's been featured non-extra, and I've also done a lot of still photo work. As a scientist I've also got a lot of media experience. I have been interviewed and sat on press conferences, and I've also been profiled in relation to my work. I'm very aware of information filtering in politically sensitive contexts and have a lot of experience in handling controversial sort of scenarios in a media interview situation. As far as my language skills go, I have fairly good conversational German. Ich habe Deutsch für 5 Jahre in der Hochschule studieren und haben vor 3 Wochen in Deutschland fahren und will Deutsch sprechen and macht Spaß. So basically, yes, I have been able to get by conversationally in German. I also have a working knowledge of Japanese. I did that for 3 years in high school and was fortunate enough to go on exchange for a summer. So I have Skoshi Nihongo. Travel, I've been overseas 12 times to date, to most continents, and I've also travelled to all of Australia's states and territories, and most of them quite extensively. Most of my travel has been for work, so I'm familiar with the rigours of travelling in a work context. So in summary, I am passionate about my career in marine science. I love the media experience that I've been able to have, and I really enjoy adventurous and high energy lifestyle, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to try out for the role of presenter on the upcoming TV series. Hi again, it's Natalie, and this is Hercules, who is very interested in being in this long shot, which is part of my audition for the presenter role. And in a moment I'm going to be talking to you about abalone, which is one of my favourite marine species. Abalone. Many people are familiar with this beautiful, lovely shell and its shiny nacre, but not as many people find these large marine snails particularly charismatic in real life. Well, I beg to differ. Like all gastropods, abalone have a large muscular foot that they use to cling to a rock surface. This muscular foot is a prized delicacy in many Asian countries, which makes abalone one of Australia's most valuable fish stocks. Once a young abalone has attached itself to a rock, it's pretty much there to stay. It might have a little stretch and a little sort of wriggle around, but there's certainly no mass migrations for this species, which, incidentally, is good news for scientists because it means we can survey them very easily. But the question is, what makes a good rock? Well, one with the best or most food, which is why abalone are generally found on the leeward side of reefs and headlands and islands. Not only are water currents calmer there, but they're such that a lot of drift algae accumulates, which is the abalone's preferred food. But good habitat is often just a matter of good luck. Because abalone are broadcast spawners, which means that they release their eggs and sperm into the water column. And the resulting larval abalone are just carried along randomly in the currents and deposited into rock crevices. And when the little abalone emerge onto the rock surface as subadults, it's only then that they find out whether or not they've been lucky enough to land in an area with plenty of food. Areas with good food attract clusters of hundreds of abalone, which is a really good thing because with the broadcast spawning, the abalone need to be close together in order to give those eggs and sperm a good chance of meeting up. But here's the problem. Abalone divers like to fish good patches where there's large, high densities of abalone, so they like to fish these large clusters. They're far more effective than picking up, it's far more efficient fishing those than picking up a single abalone here and there. Question is, how do we manage abalone fisheries without impacting on the reproductive success? Well, I did a little model which showed that so long as we protect one or two of the largest aggregations, the breeding success is still pretty high and the abalone divers are still reasonably happy. Fortunately, the problem doesn't end there. Illegal fishing is a massive issue worldwide. South Africa, however, have come up with a pretty unique solution. When I was in Cape Town, I met Tammy, who's one of the world's first abalone sniffer dogs. Tammy's a border collie who's been so successful at sniffing out illegal exports of abalone that she now has her own German Shepherd guard body dog. Bodyguard dog. Dog bodyguard. There's some consolation also in knowing that illegal fishers are often operating in some of the most shark-infested waters in the world. Every abalone diver I've spoken to has got a harrowing tale of a shark encounter or two, but unfortunately that's a whole other can of abalone.